Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to associate with the motion on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, the budget contains government policies and programs, as well as financial allocations for the actualization of these programs. And so, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the number of interventions in the form of policies and programs and allocations made for the implementation of same, we'll have to be concerned about the outcomes. And you see the outcomes in the economic sectors as captured in the budget. Mr. Speaker, when you look at paragraph 239, they are projecting a slow growth in agriculture in 2023. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, they are also saying that growth in agriculture will slow down. Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that when you look at paragraph 254, an amount of 700 million Ghana cedis has been allocated for the implementation of the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2. Mr. Speaker, this is supposed to trigger some growth, but you go to the agricultural sector under the sectoral GDP growth, and we are projecting slow down in growth under the agricultural sector. Mr. Speaker, why is it that at the time that we are pumping so much into the sector, we are anticipating decline? Mr. Speaker, and they are saying that the decline is on the back of lower growth in the crop subsector. That is where the full impact of the Planting for Food and Jobs must be felt. They are also saying that they are expecting a lower growth at the livestock subsector and also fishing subsector. Mr. Speaker, my worry is that I can never understand why you pump so much into agriculture, looking at the higher multiplying effect of the sector, and you anticipate a decline. Because when you go to paragraph 240 under industry, and they are saying that the industry sector will contract by 1.2%. And they are saying that this will come from contractions from all the subsectors, except mining and quarrying and electricity. And they say mining and quarrying will grow at 0.4%, and then electricity by 3.0%. Mr. Speaker, contraction in the industrial sector has a lot of consequences on the Ghanaian economy, yes, especially at a time when we are committing 123 million Ghana cedis under the 1D, 1L program. And Mr. Speaker, you go to services. Under services, paragraph 242, they are saying that growth will decline from 5.5% recorded in 2022 to 4.6% in 2023. And Mr. Speaker, in 2024, they are saying that growth will decline further to 1.9%. Now, my worry is that you are investing so much, and you are saying that you have turned around things. You are saying that this is Nkunim budget. But under Nkunim budget, you are anticipating decline in all your sectors. Decline in the sectors means decline in economic activities. Mr. Speaker, that means that this year, 2024, businesses will collapse. Yes. Unemployment is going to rise. Yes. Unemployment is going to rise. Yes. Cost of living is going to rise. Yes. Mr. Speaker, poverty is going to be widened. Mr. Speaker, then you go to paragraph 394. Paragraph 394. They are lamenting over food inflation. Mr. Speaker, it is strange that Ghana is now recording food inflation above 50%. Food inflation above 50%. Because it is 51.4%. When you read paragraph 394, you are saying that food inflation is above 50% from your own budget. And Mr. Speaker, Ghana has been listed, in spite of all the agricultural potentials we have. We have been listed among 10 countries with the highest food inflation in the world. This is from the World Bank. And this is your record. This is your record. And Mr. Speaker, when you come to Africa, it is even worse. You look at the African countries.
Honorable Bakane, hold on. Turn off your mic so you save your time. Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my colleague on the other side quoted paragraph 394 saying that food inflation is about 50%. But you don't pick and choose. You complete it. It says due to importation of staple foods, not what we are producing locally, but importation of staple foods such as poultry, rice, tomatoes, and onions. But currently, as we speak, food inflation has come down to below 50%, Mr. Speaker, just to set the record straight. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, are you clear? Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, my colleague has done very well for inviting me to speak about food importation. That is an area I wanted to handle later on. But once you have requested, I will do that immediately. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, we handed over an economy to you under which, in the poultry sector, we were producing 20%. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, Ghana was producing 20% of its total poultry consumption. This is from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. That in 2016, we produced 20% of our total poultry consumption in Ghana and imported 80%. Today, after read your own budget, paragraph 402, you have indicated that Ghana's poultry consumption is estimated at 324,047 metric tons. And Ghana is producing just 15%. 50% is 6%. So you see what you have done, the damage you have done to the economy. Reducing local production from 20% to 4.6%. You are shrinking the sector. Mr. Speaker, total collapse. What is even annoying is this. Resources meant for the poultry sector are sometimes diverted.
Just take notes.
Take notes. I'm saying this.
Take notes.
Resources meant for the poultry sector are sometimes diverted under your watch. Mr. Speaker, I have the Auditor General's report here. This is the report year ended 31st December 2022. And I'm referring to page 18, specifically paragraph 64. Mr. Speaker, when Ghana witnessed the outbreak of the avian flu, it started from 2016 during our time. And then when you assumed office, you complained that we did not pay compensation to the farmers. We said yes, we were preparing to pay, we lost election and couldn't pay. Immediately, a budget was raised for you to go and pay compensation to the farmers. Minister of Finance released the money, and this is what the Auditor General is saying. Just because with the indulgence, I read. Paragraph 64, the Ministry of Finance released an amount of 1.9 million Ghana cedis for payment of compensation to farmers affected by the outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza disease from 2015 to 2018. We noted that only 191,730 was paid to 10 farmers, leaving 1.8 million unaccounted for.
What's the money?
This is the reason why the sector is collapsing. And then Abraham, you also talk about you also want more information about food imports. Mr. Speaker, rice importation.
You don't read your own document.
In 2016, in 2016,
You don't read.
in 2016,
Protect him. You understand me?
in 2016, when we were handing over Ghana's total import of rice worth $300 million. 2016, Ghana used $300 million to import rice. And because $300 million at the time was 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. Today, you have reported under paragraph 401 that total rice demand for 2022 was 1,444,000, and Ghana is doing 685,000, leaving almost 800,000 tons imported. And that one, we are spending $560 million. CD equivalent of 6.8 billion Ghana cedis. So you see that you are not getting your agricultural priorities right. You have mismanaged the entire agricultural sector. And that is why every Ghanaian is suffering. Mr. Speaker, what even saddens me is this. You have captured in your budget, specifically paragraph 401, that even pepper, Ghana is unable to produce enough pepper to feed our people. And you sit here defending this pepper importers after 6 years of investing 3 billion Ghana cedis in planting for food and jobs. You are importing pepper. Get up and defend it. It's in your own budget. Mr. Speaker, they said that 2022 total pepper consumption in Ghana was 314,000. And they were able to produce 121,000, leaving a gap of 193,000 tons. Mr. Speaker, that means that Ghana imported pepper at a cost of $355 million. And look at your budget. Your own budget. Your own budget. In your budget. You are asking for dogs. What about Mr. Speaker, you see, when you look at the agricultural potentials we have in this country, and then we have handed over government to these people, they have formed the government, they are in charge of all the resources, and they come to this house, for this house to approve for them monies to change the agricultural fortunes of our nation, to reduce the importation of basic staples. Mr. Speaker, look at the amounts we have given them. In 2018, they came to this house for 400 million Ghana cedis and they're planting for food and jobs. 2019, they took 380 million Ghana cedis. 2020, 400 million Ghana cedis. 2021, 439 million cedis. 2022, 640 million cedis. 2023, 660 million cedis. And then 2024, 700 million. And still you are importing pepper.
And you are still importing ginger.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another important point is this.
Look at
Mr. Speaker, I was talking about food inflation in Africa. All West Africa here were affected by COVID-19. But after COVID-19, let's all look at food inflation in countries just in West Africa here. And then you have a better appreciation of why you have failed Ghanaians.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, Burkina Faso is doing 6.3%.
Oh.
Cote d'Ivoire 6.5%.
Food inflation.
Food inflation. Togo 2.1%.
Food inflation.
Niger 12.7%. Niger 12.7%. Liberia 16.51%. Mali negative 0.8%. Benin negative 4.7%. Guinea 14.0%. Senegal 4%. Nigeria 29.3%. Ghana 51%. You see the problem. Your agricultural policies have failed.
Yes.
So we are importing almost everything we consume in this country.
Including ginger.
And that is the reason why your exchange rate is ballooning.
Yes.
That is the reason why now you need more than 12 cities to be able to get $1. And every part of our economy has been seriously affected. Mr. Speaker, my last point has to do with the serious matter that concerns every Ghanaian in this country. The banking sector cleanup exercise that you embark upon. Mr. Speaker, from mid-2017 to January 2020, we heard that the government was implementing a banking sector cleanup exercise. An exercise that saw the reductions of our commercial banks from 34 to 24. 347 microfinance institutions lost their licenses. 15 savings and loans and 8 finance houses have their licenses withdrawn. Then in 2020, you came to this house with the budget under paragraph 142 and reported to us that the sector was solid. You have done assessment of the banking sector and that the banking sector was solvent, liquid, and profitable. And you indicated that they even had buffers, adequate buffers, to moderate any liquidity and credit shocks. Mr. Speaker, we are also aware of the establishment of the Ghana Financial Stability, under which an amount of 750 million have been committed to cushion the stress banks after the implementation of the DDEP. Today, under paragraph 258, you are inviting this house to approve another 4 billion Ghana cedis for you to continue with the banking sector now. For what?
Again.
For what? So you won't finish. You will never finish. After spending 21 billion to destroy our banks, you want additional 4 billion to continue with the discussion. This has never happened in the history of this country. Your records are very, very bad. I wanted you to mention the NIB issue so that I deal with you. Because the NIB issue is even worse. Mr. Speaker, you recall that the same people came to this house in 2022 under paragraph 221. You said that paragraph 221. What they said was that they have done an arrangement with NIB to swap their shares, their interest in investors. And under the arrangement, government has succeeded in injecting 500 million into NIB. Again, under paragraph 224, you invited this house, 2020, to approve 2.2 billion for GATT, Ghana Amalgamated Trust, to be able to raise adequate funding for NIB. That is what you told us. So, having approved the 2.2 billion for you, for GATT to raise that funding for NIB, you are still seeking refuge in the name of NIB to demand 4 billion.
Thank you, Honorable.
Why?
It is the turn of Honorable Hammond, Honorable Minister for Trade.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague seems to sympathize with me. I've been debating the whole week, but it's important that I conclude it by debating today. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to the budget debate. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues are frightened. They are frightened. But I can understand. If you are looking right through the barrel, and Mr. Speaker, you are seeing a perpetual stay on the benches opposite. But Mr. Speaker, you clearly get pretty frightened. It's going to be the new normal. The party opposite, Mr. Speaker, is going to sit there for the very first time, a third consecutive defeat and remain on the benches over there. Mr. Speaker, I am pleading with members of the House, a very serious note. We should all have the humility to appreciate the extent of our ignorance or of our knowledge. We might be the first to admit when we are not so clear about some events, some information, some knowledge. We should not be the first to rush to pass judgment on matters that we basically have no knowledge at all. Mr. Speaker, I've been sitting in this room and been listening to my colleagues debate the budget, and the budget has been described in all sorts of uncomfortable names. In fact, the worst of it I heard the last time, Mr. Speaker, was that the budget was useless. Clearly, somebody hadn't been reading it at all, hadn't been reading the first pages, and yet described the budget as, Mr. Speaker, useless. This budget document cannot be useless at all. Mr. Speaker, we will reiterate the point, and it is simply this. My colleagues should sit down in the mornings before they have their cups of tea, if they do. Those who eat the garis and those who eat the watches and those who eat whatever. Sit down to the news, get your ears glued to the televisions, and Mr. Speaker, listen to world news. Mr. Speaker, the various frequencies, various television stations Tell us, continue out what is happening in other parts of the world. Ghana cannot claim to be an island completely separate from the entire world. We have been talking about a particular item and the whole world is talking about it. Somehow Ghana, and for that matter our colleagues on this side, don't seem to be taking notice at all. And I'm talking about the issue of pandemic, COVID pandemic. Make fun of it. Indeed, if my position was anything to go by, it has been justified. But all the speeches that my colleagues have rendered today, particularly by my colleague over there, is laughing. Look at all the matters that you talked about. We don't have this, we don't have this. That is why we're asking that we'll share a lot of the imports, and Mr. Speaker, concentrate on a bit of our own internal production so that these matters are resolved. But you don't understand. Mr. Speaker, it is the reason of COVID. It is the reason of COVID that the growth in the economy from about 2019 up to 2021, Mr. Speaker, was truncated. And it's all over the place. You listen to British news, you listen to American news. Look at the amount of money that these economies have had to invest, have had to plunge back into the economies to get some semblance of tracking. Mr. Speaker, when our president made the famous statement that we know how to grow the economy, but we do not know how to bring human beings back, Mr. Speaker, he meant everything, and it was such a monumental statement. Mr. Speaker, the country had to pump in so much money, all in the process of saving lives. But having saved lives, we go back to growing the economy. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the budget statement and you look at the pages, the very first paragraphs, you're looking at the very first paragraph. The paragraph 8 talks about the difficult contest. We don't have a lot of time, so I won't be quoting its entirety. But Mr. Speaker, particularly paragraph 10, it says this: 2 out of the 7 years, the Ghanaian economy has faced challenges. The economy growing at an average of 7%, with the 8-digit inflation, declining interest rates, and stabilizing currency, suffered unforeseen shocks like other economies, and then it goes on to explain how it all dropped. Mr. Speaker, but then it goes on to paragraph 15 and make the point that Demi is turning around the corner. Inflation, which was at 54.1, Mr. Speaker, is now declined to 35.2%, and October, and further declining. The economy is picking up. Thank God, pandemic now belongs to the history books, and so the economy, Mr. Speaker, is picking up. My colleague, Mr. Speaker, is making all sorts of statements and making them out of context. He says, for example, that the industry was to contract. Mr. Speaker, it's against a certain background. 2023 economy industry is going to contract by a certain percentage. What he didn't do in following his own edit is that he didn't then go to the next one. He chose and then decided which ones to go through with. He looked at paragraph 240. Mr. Speaker, he looked at paragraph 240. This is what he said: industry is expected to contract by 1.2% in 2023. That is fine. The very next paragraph, 241. The industry sector is expected to turn around in 2024, growing by 3.7%, improve further to 4.2% in 2025, and 5.2% in 2026, and it goes on and it goes on. A moment ago, he was telling about agriculture production. Let's go back to paragraph 401. This is what he said. He said that poultry, rice, and other products had declined. What he didn't tell the House, the Speaker, in the same table that he was looking at, clearly production in maize appreciated, in cassava appreciated, in yam appreciated, in plantain appreciated. I don't know where they're getting the figures from. Why do you close your eyes to what? The figures are here. The figures are here. Mr. Speaker, I was so appalled the other day when I think the Honorable Deputy Leader, Minority Leader, was going through 1D1F, and indeed my friend from Bole Bamwai, Mr. Speaker, fell victim to the same disease. They did not have the facts, and yet they were challenging the validity of fact that has been produced. Both of them got up to tell the House that the figures that we are mentioning, we are talking about from our ministry, trade and industry, with respect to 1D1F program, the figures are not true. Quite where they got the figures from, quite how they got the validity or the otherwise of it from, I have no clue. Mr. Speaker, the government in coming to power made the development and industrialization of this country a priority. For that matter, quite a lot of attention was placed on the 1D1F program. As I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, we are proud to announce that there have been 169 companies which are certified. They are producing, along with a considerable number of employment. Mr. Speaker, we have about another 143 of the companies which are about just completed. Mr. Speaker, we have had about 168,000 employees. Somebody got out from there the other day to say that, well, we said that we will produce 375 employees by the time that it is done. Well, 1D1F is not done. We just about started. It's only 7 years into the program, and you're telling us that we have done 168, we have done 168. Well, Mr. Speaker, I will call the bluff in a minute. Somebody had the strength, the courage to mention also of the earlier debate about the airline I intended to lay, that there is no sugar in the factory, in the country. They don't talk about the Commander Sugar Factory. Of course, there's no sugar in the factory. Thanks to you lot. Mr. Speaker, listen to their record. Mr. Speaker, in about, would you listen to your record on sugar production, and then on your attempt to do some factory, to do some industrialization in Ghana? Mr. Speaker, in about the year 2016-17, they attempted, 2015-16, they attempted, Mr. Speaker, to produce some sugar. Whether that was the attempt at industrialization, I don't know, but to produce some sugar in the country. Look at a whopping amount. Now you listen to this and listen carefully. Mr. Speaker, a whopping amount of 35 million United States dollars was put to the disposal of this particular company.